Hi. These two paintings look like they came from two different artists. Same person though, same hands. For years I painted almost nothing but landscapes, just like this one. I've done some obviously different designs and different techniques. Some are larger. They've included gold leaf or silver leaf or different abstract elements in the painting. Now I'm painting more like this. This is the subjects that I'm painting. These are cute little foxes that I've just done. This is part of my new collection, the Safari Club. I am so excited to be able to launch this in the next couple months. I'm working on a number of different pieces that are coming together. And I'm gonna be giving you guys sneak peeks along the way. And if you asked me a few years ago, I would have told you that I found my niche in landscapes, that I painted landscapes for, 10 plus years. I've done countless commissions of landscapes, pieces that I'm incredibly proud of that I still have hanging in my own house. I would have told you that I found my niche 3 years ago, that it was landscapes, that was the brand. So then what changed? If you've watched a couple of my other videos, you know that I simply did get very bored with painting landscapes. I wasn't inspired by it. I wasn't engaged or excited to create these compositions. And today I really want to talk about finding your niche as an artist, why it matters, how people usually get advice wrong, and what actually happened when mine seemed to fall apart. Spoiler, it didn't. What I will say is this is just from my experience and my personal approach to this. There's a lot of videos online that talk about finding your niche and how you need to find a niche in your art in order to be successful and get a following and sell pieces. And while I do think finding a niche is very exciting and important and helpful in getting your art out there and getting an audience, for the longest time, I thought that was all about the subject that I painted. But it turns out I think I had an incorrect understanding of what that was. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about what I think it means to find your niche in art and how I did find mine just by creating art. Rather than looking for something to work on to say, this is my niche, I kind of just noticed it through the pieces that I was already creating. So to start, for me, my niche in art was not a subject. While it can be for some people, it was not for me. And most advice will tell you, or most advice I've received told me to pick a subject like pet illustrations or landscape pieces or fantasy art and stick with it in order to be recognizable. So people know that they can come to you and get this kind of painting. They know that this is always going to be your subject matter. You're reliable, you're consistent, and people know what to expect from you, which is great when you're selling in the market. That's ideal. You want people to know what they can expect. That way they can come back if they're looking for that. It's not wrong at all. It's more just a subject-based niche, and they're easy to explain, they're easy to market, and that's why we end up hearing about them the most. It works early on because it makes you findable. If someone wants a landscape painter, they think of you. It's a search term, basically, a shortcut for the algorithm for word of mouth. So when I started out, that's exactly what I did. I painted landscapes almost exclusively for over 10 years, and it worked. And that's how a lot of you found me in the first place. That's how I got a lot of the followings that I did have. And it's where a lot of my commissions came from, landscape-based things with bold colors. That is, in my opinion, just the shallowest layer of niche. There's so much more depth below it, and you can find a niche in something completely different. It doesn't have to be a subject. Not to say that that's wrong or anything like that. It's just that's the top layer, really. There's so much more that you can go into and learn from and really develop into a niche of your own that doesn't have to be just based on a subject. A lot of artists don't paint the same thing over and over again, and for years I never did either. And then I did find landscapes, and that's all I did for a long time because I thought this is my niche and I need to stay here so people know to find me. or know they can come to me for niche paintings. A couple years ago, when I got disengaged with my art and I wasn't as passionate about anything I was creating, I needed something to shift. And so I needed to reframe how I looked at painting in my niche and really what my niche was. So I switched and did all these art challenges, which you can learn about in my other videos and use as your own inspiration if you're feeling uninspired with art you're creating. And I stopped thinking of it as less of what I was creating instead of finding another way, more looking at it as the lens I paint through. Basically the consistent stuff underneath the subject matter. And for me, a lot of that was bold colors, really bright colors, contrasting colors. A lot of it had to do with my mood. Like my pieces were creating a sense of fun and brightness and energy in a room. They weren't, natural tones that create, maybe calmness or simplicity. And for a long time, because you can tell it with these pieces specifically, is everything is so structured. There's no loose brush movement. Everything has its place. Whereas this is more loose brush work. I wanted to get away from this type of painting, not because I didn't like it anymore, but because it just wasn't serving me, and move into something looser, something that felt more natural, less structured, something that I could really have a lot of fun with my colors. So in going through this reframe, I knew I wanted to be less structured. I wanted to have looser painting techniques. I wanted to keep the bold colors and the contrasting colors I was working with, but I wanted to do a more in-depth dive into color theory and color palettes and be more intentional about colors that I was choosing. And a lot of what helped me do that is to think about artists that I was already following. And if you think about the artists that you're following right now, do they ever change their subject? Is the subject the exact same all the time? Or do you love what they paint because of how they paint it? It's less about, I love this landscape artist because they paint landscapes. It's, I love this landscape artist because they show so much whimsy in their landscapes, or they have so much structure in their landscapes. Or like I was speaking with, I recently went to an art show, an art walk, outside, and one of the artists there did fiber work with fibers, and she created landscapes with them, and they were absolutely stunning, very beautiful. And it was less about each of the landscapes specifically that she was working on. I'm always drawn to the ones with the bright colors, especially the ones that have like canola fields, and I love those bright yellows and greens, and you can see where like it's very Alberta, which is where I'm from. And the pieces she made were absolutely beautiful, but they were also calming and gentle and, spacious, places that you think that you could go to and sit in silence and just be with nature. And there's something really beautiful about that. There's a lot of other artists doing other types of landscapes, but the way hers were really resonated with me. And that has less to do with the subject than the lens that she's creating her art through. For my journey specifically, why did I choose landscapes to begin with? I really love being outdoors. I love going on hikes. I spend a lot of my time in nature, out in the mountains. I live very close to them. Doing hikes, going camping, being outside. I mean, I got into golf just for an excuse to be outside for 4 hours. I love being outdoors, and it just felt like such a natural subject for me to paint. It was also a safe choice, I'll be honest. I didn't have any experience painting people. I find painting people quite difficult. I'm always incredibly impressed when artists paint people really well. And I wasn't really big on animals at the time, and I just really loved mountains against trees, against water and flowers. And the odd piece I would do, I would include an animal or a bird, just to add to the composition. But I really loved painting landscapes, and I did that in acrylic painting for years. When I moved into digital illustration about 4 or 5 years ago, I also took my landscape paintings in there. And the joy of working in digital illustration is really the flexibility you have. You can make a mistake, you can change something, you can change it back, it's very forgiving in that way. And it really allowed me to be more explorative with that medium. And I took the same compositions, but I took a mountain and I did the whole piece in pink, in different shades of pink. I did it with orange in different shades of orange. I did a gradient, different shades. It allowed me to play with color in a different way, which is really what I was looking for. I love color. I love bold colors and bright colors. And it was really interesting for me to get involved in that. And I really think that digital illustration helped me realize how much I love working with color and different palettes. And it's really spun into how I've started to develop this brand new collection that I'm currently working on. I did stick with it for a while. I've sold quite a few commissions as landscape pieces that I'm very proud of. I am so grateful for those opportunities and those pieces that I was able to create for people. They went to amazing homes. And after years and years, about 2 years ago, I just kind of hit a rut with it. I just wasn't as inspired looking at the same compositions. It wasn't doing it for me after the switch with colors and different tries in digital illustration. I felt like it was just time to try something new. It kind of spurred me into looking at different subjects and compositions and things that I could create that weren't just landscapes. I wanted to broaden my art, really, is what it came down to. I do remember, though, when I stopped painting landscapes, I was thinking, if I stop doing this, am I gonna have to start everything all over again? Do I lose everything that I've built, that people know that I can paint these landscapes? And I didn't know where to start, honestly, and it left me really stuck for a while. And there was probably about a month or two that I didn't really create anything, which was odd because I make art every day. I paint every day. I work with clay. If I'm not painting, I'm drawing or sketching, and I couldn't connect with my art. And so I was nervous about starting over. I was nervous about trying something new. There's millions of artists in the world. I didn't want to, just start copying what someone else was doing. I wanted to be inspired by someone, but to create something of my own as well. And it left me a little bit stuck until I decided to take on some of these challenges that I showed you in other videos. And really what helped me was looking back at the pieces that I had already created over time. So in doing these challenges and looking back at what I'd already created, all the pieces that I had, all the pieces that I've sold, all the pieces that are still being created or halfway done, really helped give me a good, strong visual of, oh, look at my use of color. Let's really delve into how I'm putting color palettes together, what colors are working well together. Let's learn more about color theory and how to make pieces even brighter and more fun. And really, I just have always had an admiration for odd art. I was painting constantly in realism, which was so natural for me. But when I go out and I look at art and I buy art for the house, I buy things that are odd or just not perfect and not structured. And I like the messiness of art, and I like compositions that are so different and unique that I wouldn't have ever thought to make them. And so why can't I create art that feels like that? That's the stuff I've already fallen in love with. So let's make something unique and different and brightly colored that brings joy and makes people stop and go, what an interesting piece of art. So really doing the challenges combined with looking back at what I already had really helped me figure out that my niche isn't a subject. My niche is really, for lack of a better term, a vibe, I want to look at my art and say, that's so fun and that's so different and it's so bright and energetic, and I want that in my house because it would make me smile if I looked at it every day. There is some stunning, beautiful, calm, and simple pieces of art that I absolutely love, but I want to bring art to this world that is joyful and fun and energetic. And I really feel like tapping into the color portion of my pieces has really helped me feel confident in this. So the subject changed, but the color didn't. And I was never the landscape painter. I was the person who paints in bold color and bold contrast. I want to be a person who uses color extremely well, in a very captivating way, no matter what the subject is. And so while I might be focusing on animals now, that might change into something in the future, and that would still follow along in the same niche that I'm creating now. So your niche might not be sitting in a subject at all. I just wanted to say that and offer this perspective. For me, it wasn't. It might be hiding in your color palette, your mark making, your composition choices, the feeling your work gives off, you know, like if you bring peace and calmness and something that's been consistent the whole time that you've been creating art, even while the subject matter moved around. And so one of the biggest pieces of advice I have, if you're looking for a niche and looking for something to really center yourself around when you're creating your art, don't try to just find it. Create art. Make the things that make you happy, you know, make the fruit painting, make the animal painting, draw people, do still lifes. Try everything and any techniques that you can, and then look back on what you've created and see what patterns are there or what similarities you have between all these pieces, if there are any, and then try to build on that. Take that same theme that keeps appearing in everything or in most of your work and try to develop that into a niche. It doesn't have to be all subject matter related. And if you're in the middle of figuring this out for yourself, I'd genuinely love to know what you find. Drop it in the comments. And if you want to see more of how my styles evolved, please check back to some of my last videos. They'll show you the challenges that I put myself through just to get to where I am. You can even see it on that piece back there, the contrasting colors and the boldness. It's everywhere in my pieces. So don't worry too much about finding it. You probably already have it. You just need to go back and look at what you've already created. And if you're just starting out and this is a worry of yours or something you're trying to settle on, you will best find it by creating art. Just create as much as you can and then look back on those and see where your patterns are. I hope this helps somebody. This is just something that's worked for me. Something shifting my mindset around thinking about a niche for my art has really helped me feel more confident, has helped me create more cohesive pieces together. And I'm not stuck on the same subject matter. I can change it up. For instance, in this new collection, I do foxes, leopards, rabbits, alligators, elephants, snakes. Like, I'm doing a ton of different animals. It's not all just one piece. They're just all done through the same lens now. The same thought process, the same way I'm looking at. I might be using some color palettes differently, but I'm still referencing things back and focusing on the same kind of fundamental base of contrasting colors, complementary colors, and bold and bright pieces that seem fun and lively and bright. And that will probably continue through my work until the end of time, because that is the true niche of where I've been creating. And I hope that you find it as well. And I am really excited to hear about what you are able to find for your niche. Please share it in the comments. I would love to learn about other people's approach. If you agree with this, if you think I'm completely out in left field, please let me know. I love learning as I go. So thank you so much for being here.